We've got one more waiting to join. I'll give them about a minute and then we'll get started. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on your lunch break. Hopefully everyone has thawed out from the snow and is just ready for some springtime. We've finally gotten some sunshine the last couple of days in Oxford, and it has been the best. We are talking with the School of Education today for our upfront virtual talks with experts from the Ole Miss Alumni Association. And we are so fortunate to be joined by Dr. Susan McClelland and several School of Education colleagues to get us off on the right foot talking about new programs in teacher education. This is a series of talks that we have done with the Alumni Association from various schools and colleges on campus. I just did one last week with the School of Applied Sciences. So I know that you're in for a treat and hopefully we'll take some things away. We do ask that you stay on mute for the entire presentation. Feel free to drop any of your questions in the chat. And we do have a small group, so we can probably just ask questions at the end if you would be willing to speak as well. So with that, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Susan McClelland. She's a professor of educational leadership who also serves as a chair of the Department of Teacher Education and the director of Mississippi Excellent in Teaching Program, METP, for those of you that like a good short letters. I've lost my train of thought. So METP, she's a career educator in Mississippi, beginning as a high school English teacher, transitioning into administration as a high school principal and assistant superintendent, and moving into higher ed in 2005. Since coming to the university, Dr. McClelland has had the opportunity to participate in the development of two of the School of Education's premier special programs, METP and the Principal Corps. And she's also joined by Dr. Pryor and Dr. Keskin as well. And I will let her introduce them and we will head off to the races.
Thanks so much, Sunny. It is so wonderful to be here today. It's also sort of exciting for me as I've scrolled through to look at the participants. I see people that I taught in my K-12 career, and I am thrilled to see that, all the way with folks who I've actually got to serve on their dissertation committees. So it's really exciting when you've been in education this long and you can see folks that you've had an opportunity to engage with at various levels. So before I began sharing some information about METP, I want to introduce to you my distinguished colleagues who I am so grateful and appreciative to that they would take time out to come and talk to you about their programs. These are two of teacher education's newest bachelor degree programs. Our faculty have been working on these for a couple of years to ensure that we have premier programs for new students. So first, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Keskin. Dr. Keskin may want to wave so everybody can see who you are. He is a professor of early childhood education, and he is the program coordinator of the early childhood education program. He worked at let me say it again. I want to make sure I pronounce this correctly. Ataturk. How was that, Dr. Keskin? Yay. University in Turkey, and he also worked at Columbus State University in Columbus, Georgia, before coming here to the University of Mississippi. We recruited Dr. Keskin to try to get him to come to Ole Miss, so we feel very fortunate that we have someone with his experience and background leading efforts in our early childhood program. His research interests are trends in early childhood education and the use of theory in child studies. Dr. Keskin has led in the efforts to design two degree programs at the university. First was the MED in early childhood education, and most recently is, of course, our BAED, our bachelor's degree in early childhood education, along with Dr. Kenya Wolf, who was unable to be with us today. So that's Dr. Keskin. My other colleague who is here today is Dr. Laura Pryor. Laura, you want to wave so everybody can see you? Laura is an assistant professor in health and physical education. She is currently in her 4th year at the University of Mississippi, and she was hired to help create this new program. Some of you may know we had an endorsement in health and wellness that her colleague, Dr. Alicia Stapp, designed when she came. And so we really had a dream to create a bachelor's degree in health and physical education. So with that, we were able to find Dr. Pryor, who brings amazing experience and energy and ideas into the development of this new program. Before she came to Ole Miss, she was an elementary and middle school physical education teacher for 8 years at Tuscaloosa Magnet School in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. She has been instrumental in helping to design the new program with, as I said, Dr. Alicia Stapp, who was unable to be with us today. So with that, Sunny, can I share my screen? We will jump right into our program. Again, I want to say welcome to everyone who is here. We will have an opportunity for you to ask questions if you should have any questions at the end. So let's see. Yes, there we go. Perfect. Okay, can everyone see the screen at this point? Okay, great. I need to see if I can. Hold on, sorry, I'm trying to make sure I can see everything. Okay, so I'm going to start first talking about the METP program, which some of you may be familiar with, the Mississippi Excellence in Teaching program. We started the design of this program around 2011. And we had our first award in 2013. And it came as a result of us and Mississippi State working together under the appropriations of the Robert M. Herron Support Foundation. When they came to us, they said, dream big. And so that is what we were able to do for METP. The goal of this program is to attract the top performing high school students who want to be teachers in Mississippi. And we really look for students who show strong potential academically. They are very involved in sports and leadership roles in their schools, churches, and communities, and they have a desire to make a difference in the lives of children. Currently, we focus on students who want to major in secondary English, mathematics, or science, as well as elementary and special education. Our setup is sort of like an honors college approach, in that we are meeting with our students from the very beginning in a cohort style so that they know each other and they have the support of a cohort. In admissions, we look for students who are, as I said, high performing. We do consider ACT or SAT scores, and we have a GPA expectation of at least a 3.5. I can tell you we are in our interview process right now, and we have already interviewed so many outstanding students who come with very high ACT scores, but also extremely high GPAs, and students who show significant leadership potential already. They have to submit that information, as well as write a personal statement and another essay, and they have to have letters of recommendation. While in the program, they have to maintain a 3.0 resident GPA, and they also have other expectations. In addition to maintaining their GPA, we have opportunities for them to have a specific course that they take each semester with their cohort. And we feel like this is one of the things that sort of separates our program from our partner program at Mississippi State, is that our students do begin meeting every week together with their faculty. So our secondary English students know the secondary English faculty, secondary math, elementary special ed. They have wonderful opportunities to start engaging with the faculty and with our school partners, which I will talk about more in just a moment. You can see we are now in our 8th cohort. And if you notice, you see the numbers, and then on the wheel, you see that we have many more English majors and almost as many now special education as we do, elementary as we do math. When we first started the program, we focused on secondary English and math. So for the first few years, we only admitted students in those areas. We now are open, and you can see we have the elementary, special education, and secondary science. Also, if you look at the numbers, you will see that with the 4th cohort, they began to increase. The foundation provided more assistance for scholarships. So we were able to increase our numbers from a cohort of 15 now. Our goal is to shoot for a cohort of 30. There are so many benefits to being an METP, and I've just listed a few of those. One that we think is probably one of the greatest experiences that they have is we began placing them in K-12 classrooms for observations and working with children and teachers their freshman year. Typically, our undergraduate students don't begin working directly in K-12 schools until their junior year. So this is one of the really special benefits that our students in METP have. Of course, they have their scholarship, their room and board. They each get a stipend for $1,000 for technology to get a laptop or a tablet. One of the biggest draws that we have is our study abroad and our other opportunities for off-campus learning. You can see in the pictures, there's one picture of us when we were in Finland, and then the other picture is when we were in at the U.S. Department of Education office, where our students actually got to meet people who work there and learn more about the operations of the Department of Education at a national level. These trips are amazing. Our students are involved in a class their junior year where they do a comparative education course. And within that course, they are looking at the educational and cultural aspects of the countries we're going to visit and how they compare to the United States. We also have residential institutes where we go to Mississippi State and Mississippi State comes to Ole Miss. And so we get to meet our colleagues from other campuses and really learn about what they're doing and what we're doing and how what we both are collectively doing impact our communities. After graduation, all of our students who are in our program, they commit to a 5-year teaching experience in Mississippi public schools. So one of the things that's really interesting is we have students, we've had vastly, the majority of our students have been from Mississippi, but we do have about 27 or 28 states represented in the cohorts that we've had so far. In this picture, these are students who are now in their first year of teaching, and they were doing a diverse pedagogy exercise in one of my classes that they were involved in. So this little map shows you a little bit about where our students are located. In addition to DeSoto County, the Jackson area, and the Gulf Coast area, we have students in these counties. We're very pleased that our students are going all across Mississippi, and we feel like we are going to be able to have an even greater impact as time goes on with this program throughout the state. Just to let you see a few of our students, and this is just a very, very short list of students that we're so very proud of the work that they have already begun to do. Austin Jones sits on the School of Education Advisory Board. Kendall Kern is working in the Mississippi Delta, and Jenna Smiley started a theater program at Yazoo County High School. I can tell you with Kendall and Jenna, they were both also honor students, and I had the opportunity of directing their theses. They were English majors, and they are outstanding. Austin has one of the best personalities and greatest hearts you can imagine, and he has worked for 2 years as a Sunflower County intern. At this time, with students who are currently in the program, we're very proud. Our own little Abby Jones is currently the Associate Body Vice President. So she's the ASB Vice President at Ole Miss. We have 17 fellows who were their high school valedictorian or salutatorian. And then out of our fellows, we have had 4 National Merit finalists, 2 Stamp Scholars at the university, 1 Phi Beta Kappa. And of course, we are very proud that we had 1 Rhodes Scholar named last year. She was also the first African-American female from the University of Mississippi named as a Rhodes Scholar. So we're very proud of her. So far, the impact on Mississippi education, of the 68 graduates who have completed our program, 59 are full-time teachers in Mississippi public schools. And that is something that we are very insistent on, is that our students are going into the public schools of Mississippi. 7 are full-time graduate students, and only 2 are not fulfilling their service commitment. When a student doesn't fulfill the service commitment for whatever time they lack of the 5 years, that automatically reverts to a loan. So we do have students who are making a wonderful impact on the children in Mississippi. You can see the picture that we have. This is when we were at the Capitol, and we were so excited that it was featured as on the cover of the MPE Journal. So I'll take questions at the end. I think we'll just, if you all don't mind, unless someone has a burning question, we will move on to the early childhood education. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Keskin.
All right. Hello, everybody. I hope you are all doing well. Can you all hear me? Yes? Okay, good. So thank you, Dr. McClelland, for the introduction. My name is Burhanettin Keskin. I'm professor of early childhood education. I work with Dr. Kenya Wolf, who is not going to be here today. She had another engagement. I wish she was here. So our early childhood program prepares candidates not only for the education of young children, but also it's designed to teach our candidate how to make sure that our kids are developing well and all healthy and otherwise. It's like a more holistic approach than just the education. So that's what we try to do it with our undergraduate degree. And our candidates can have jobs in multiple places, such as they can work in classroom settings, private or public. They can manage childcare programs, or they can even have some jobs that are in like state, under the state umbrella, like MDE or any other states, really. So our candidates are, I feel like they're lucky because we have a Willie Price lab school that they can actually see how the best teaching is taking place, or also they can work with wonderful group of teachers whom I know, I think probably most of them, if not all. They're all really excellent teachers. I can say that Willie Price have become a really wonderful place. And so our candidates will be able to work, practice at Willie Price, also in other places, and so they can get experiences working with infant, toddlers, preschoolers, and kindergartners. And as I said, we have seasoned teachers at Willie Price and also in public school settings too. They will be working with teachers there. And our undergraduate degree has 124 semester hours. And once a candidate finishes our program, they will be getting a birth to kindergarten license with an early intervention endorsement in special education, which goes through birth to kindergarten. Yes. Next slide.
And Dr. Keskin, I would
Yes.
like to add, for those of you who aren't really familiar with the kindergarten, the birth through kindergarten license, and then the endorsement in special ed, our program is unique in that. And that was one of the things that Dr. Keskin and Dr. Wolf really pushed for, is for these students to have our students to have the courses in special ed that would give them this additional endorsement.
It really increases their marketability per se, and also their knowledge base as well. And our program requirement, it's 2.5 GPA for the entry admission and for the transfer students or change of major students, 2.75 GPA for the phase 2 teacher education admission phase. And career opportunities, candidates must take additional practice exams to qualify for the licensure in Mississippi. Once licensed, they will have a birth to kindergarten teaching license and endorsement that I mentioned, special education birth to kindergarten endorsement. We have our website, which has all the information you need, but if anyone has a question, they can always contact me or Dr. Wolf. And let me say a little bit about Dr. Wolf, and then I'll finish my talk. If you haven't met her, I mean, you're missing a lot. She's a wonderful person and a wonderful professor. So 2 things in one. So I think our candidates will be lucky to have her as their professors. And if you have a question, I'll take it at the end or now, whichever fits.
So thank you, Dr. Keskin. I appreciate that. And unless someone has something they just need to ask right now, we will move right into with Dr. Pryor talking about our health and physical education.
Hey y'all, I'm Laura Pryor and I'm an assistant professor in health and physical education. I talk really fast, especially when I get super excited, so I'll try to slow down for y'all. So if you questions, or wave your hand and just tell me to slow down and I will see you and I will slow down. But I am super excited about our health and phys ed program. It is 123 hours and our candidates will be licensed in both health and physical education. And the next 2 slides, honestly, I could probably just have it in a nutshell. So the biggest thing when Dr. Stapp, which I just like Dr. Keskin said with Dr. Wolf, I wish she was here. She is the program coordinator, and we both have this idea of creating a physical education and health program that is so different than the traditional old school PE. So if you think about it, I loved these pictures. I love this type of PE because I didn't really see anything wrong with it because I was that type of kid that was always actively involved. I love PE. I love the competition. I loved all of that. I didn't really see the big picture, and whereas a lot of kids are actually left out and they do not enjoy physical education because it's so competitive. It's only driven to those that are, big time athletically inclined, all of that. And that is not what we want. But too often, across the country, that is the type of PE program that is across the board. That's your traditional PE. So we're looking at these pictures, some kids are sitting out, students that have disabilities are not able to participate. You're playing dodgeball. I love dodgeball growing up. I was really competitive in it, but it's terrible. We do not need to teach that. And then you have, middle schoolers, the girls that would rather play, do each other's hair or whatnot instead of actually participating. So that's the old school. So our program from the ground up, and we're super excited about this, is having a new physical education program that is all inclusive. It caters to a wide range of students, abilities, interests, motivation, where the teachers are teaching. They're not just coaching and rolling the ball out. We are offering courses that will teach our future teachers how to teach lifelong skill and lifelong sport, activity that will last a lifetime, focusing on health-related fitness, focusing on competitive but also cooperative games. Really a space where every single kid will enjoy it, and it will really foster this love of physical activity for a lifetime. So that is kind of the whole purpose of this new program, is to kind of have PE programs that look like this across Mississippi. And then if our graduates go beyond Mississippi, they're also having this. So we'll kind of get more into the specifics with our program. It is consistent with the mission of the university as a whole, just really to promote creativity through critical thinking and inquiry, having critical field work in diverse settings, and promoting quality health and phys ed. Too often, even in my profession, when I was at Alabama, and even now, if some people say, well, what do you do? I say, I'm a professor in health and physical education. I automatically get this assumption of, oh, you got an easy job. That's an easy field, easy position. And Dr. Sapp and I are like, no, if you're doing it the right way, it's actually really good. And it's hard to be a good PE teacher because so often people just roll the ball out. And so we want these opportunities for our teachers to promote health and phys ed, where their subject PE class is not just gym or a break from the other teachers. It is just as important as math, science, English. And so our candidates are actually going through, we have our first set coming in the fall, and they actually go through an interview process. And if they, do not match certain criteria, they're not going to get in, because we do not want to push out coaches. We do not want to continue this cycle of teachers not teaching in health and phys ed, and that kind of give us a bad name. So we are very much in line with the mission of the university. And kind of the need, Dr. McClelland would be able to tell you, why we haven't had it for such a long time. I know when I interviewed for this position, that was my question, is why don't we have a health and phys ed program? Because across the board, a lot of health and phys ed programs are actually being cut. And so here we are at Ole Miss, we're actually starting one. And I think a lot of it is because so often it just pushed out that same cycle of non-teaching teachers. And so with this, with the ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, that replaced No Child Left Behind. And with that, physical education actually gets funding just like any other academic subject. So having our teachers know and realize that we can get funded and we are just as important. The legislature, they realize our importance, teaching the whole body, and realizing we're not just that physical aspect of things. Part of the Obesity Action Plan, it has required a lot of states across the board. Now it varies, but they do require health and phys ed, elementary, middle school, high school is kind of hit or miss. And really just the fact that so many of our students in that primary age and that adolescent age, they are becoming more obese because they're not having opportunities for physical activity. And honestly, they're not having teachers that are instilling this passion and love for physical activity at an early age that will last throughout a lifetime. Again, the obesity, and really reversing the health epidemic that we have across the board. Next slide. Yep. So the benefits, hopefully it's going to attract more students to the School of Education. I've had a lot of students within the past few years that knew we were starting this, and they have asked me, why in the world why don't we have this already? And they wanted to actually do health and phys ed, but it's too late for them. So hopefully we're going to have more students come to the School of Ed, increase opportunities within research, and again, having that opportunity for new methodologies that I was able to do in Tuscaloosa, Dr. Stapp also did in Florida, and just really creating a new way of teaching and thinking for people that want to be a health and phys ed teacher. And how is it different? Kind of like I showed in the pictures, really having this culture of physical literate children. Too often physical education is focused just on the athletic part or the sport part, but they really don't know the why behind things. And so we want our students to be physically literate and realize why it is important and how our bodies move and why that's important to the day-to-day operations of life. Have different innovative pedagogical approaches. So again, when we teach in this health and phys ed program, we're not going to focus on just one type of methodology or one curriculum. We're going to have a wide range where when our teachers are actually out in the field, they're going to teach a lot of different ways, because as we all know, students learn differently, and we want to be able to have our teachers reach every single kid differently in a way that meets them where they are individually, to develop effective and health and physical educators, reverse again the trends of old PE, and replacing and get with this new era of physical education. And our mission is to prepare candidates to teach in diverse K-12 settings. They'll have those opportunities kind of around here, foster innovative, reflective, and inclusive practices, and meet the challenges of health and phys ed. One of our biggest things as a health and physical educator is we have to advocate for our own profession, because too often people think you're just a PE teacher, like you're just a coach. That's you don't really have an important role. And that is our biggest issue that we have, because people automatically assume because we're health and phys ed, we're a little bit lower. So we have to be our biggest advocate. And then also the, challenge of making sure that we have the time that we need with our students every single day, day in and day out, 60 minutes a day. It should be happening in physical education. And then our vision: effective leaders, innovative and collaborative, advocates again for quality health and phys ed, pioneers, and really to have a positive culture of health and well-being. Again, with Dr. Stapp, I wish she was here and y'all could see her enthusiasm as well. With both of us leading this, our students are going to really, they're not going to have a choice to not be positive about this good culture of quality teaching and being a leader, and really being innovative and working together across, here in Mississippi or across the Southeast, just kind of really everywhere. So we've got a big vision for our health and phys ed program. And one really cool thing that we have a 5th year option for our students. They can take 5 years and they can have 2 undergraduate degrees in health and physical education, and then in exercise science. So we've worked really hard to be able to make this happen. And that's another really unique thing that we have within our program, because again, they can take 1 more year and they have 2 undergraduate degrees, which is really cool. Another thing, if our students take 2 additional special ed courses, then they would also get the special education endorsement as well. So that's kind of our key things. Whenever people come in and they ask about our program, we have 2 big sellers just right there with the additional courses that they can take. And then we created like 12 new courses within this. So you can see, I'm not going to go through all of them, but if you just kind of look at the titles, you see that we are different. We're different from a lot of schools that, teach the old way. And we are very proud of our program, very proud of the work that came with this syllabi, and just offering innovative, new, good ways that will have our students just have this quality health and phys ed mentality and mindset. So when they're in the field, they're actually going to be quality physical educators and health educators. And then this is our contact information. Again, I'm not Dr. Stapp. She is not here. She wishes she was here. She's the program coordinator. I'm Laura Pryor. If y'all have any questions, we would love to answer them for you. But thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Pryor. I went back to this slide because I wanted folks to see one of the unique things that they developed in this program is an opportunity for all of the majors to have experiences in elementary school settings and secondary school settings. So when the students graduate from this program, pardon me, they will have had experience doing practicum and student teaching at both levels. All right, so I appreciate Drs. Keskin and Pryor for talking about their programs. And at this point, we would be delighted to open up, and I'll ask, anybody have any questions, or would you like more information? Dr. Cox.
There. For Dr. Keskin, and I wasn't at all familiar with a birth through K program. I have sort of a multi-level question here. First, at what point is the teacher connecting with the birth through K child?
Can you repeat your question? I don't think I understood what
yes.
you asked.
Since there's no birth through K schools, how is it that the teacher is interfacing with a birth through K child?
So our degree covers from birth to kindergarten, but they can teach any level between the birth to kindergarten. So they don't have to, there is no position that is just for birth to kindergarten, but they can be a kindergarten teacher, they can be a preschool teacher, pre-K teachers, or they can work in a daycare center in holding various positions. And that's how we design the program in a way that it covers, our courses are designed from birth to kindergarten, but we understand that there's not a single position that covers that birth to kindergarten. Is that
So at daycares, that's where the interface takes
Daycare,
place.
or
with the
they
very-
can also
the very
work in
early-
public schools as preschool, kindergarten, or so not necessarily just daycare. Daycare is only one part of it.
Right, yes, yes. Well, I was just curious about, you can't go back too far, and how do you connect with students when you get that young? My second question, there's fairly high standard for getting into the program, GPA wise and entrance score wise. Is it, if you approach this as an honors college sort of thing, it seems like it would be geared toward more gifted students, but I don't know that that's exactly what we're talking about.
No, I think this is a general requirements for our teacher ed department. So it's not specific to early childhood.
Right.
Gifted students, as in the students, not the teacher candidates, but the actual students they will be teaching.
I see. So our courses, we have, again, because we have a special ed component, and in the special ed component, we are not just talking about children with disabilities, but also exceptional children too. So it's embedded in our curriculum. So it's not just towards disability per se, it's just any children with exception, exceptionality.
And I'll say, you know, I think there's a lot of good stuff in this. I have a 4-year-old granddaughter that's a little brain trust. And if her mother wasn't a teacher and I wasn't, then I would wonder what's developing there. Most of the time, this is up to parents, but parents don't always fill that gap. So is that sort of the thinking behind this whole program?
So when we are teaching, Dr. Wolf and I, and ask our students to come up with a lesson plan, or we show them a sample lesson plan, we always have different levels of teaching, like teaching that will be for the, what we call like in quotation, average children, and teaching that's designed for students with disabilities, certain disability, but also for exceptionality. So whenever we are teaching how to teach a certain content to children, we always cover these 3 levels. We don't just leave it as let's say generic teaching, but designed in a way that no one is left out.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
Thank you, Dr. Cox and Dr. Keskin. Any other questions? Yes, Ms. Buchanan.
I've got a question for Dr. McClelland and a follow-up for Dr. Pryor. You mentioned on the METP that students get field experience early. So do they have to come in as freshmen to be in that program?
The program initially is designed for entering freshmen. I don't know if you noticed our cohort that's their sophomores had 32 in it. We admitted four new students, so that cohort is large. We will take someone up until the sophomore year. After the sophomore year, we aren't, up to this point, we haven't accepted, simply because the freshman and sophomore years is where we begin to really build the cohort as a group. And that's where they get a lot of their extra experiences. So we are in the process of looking at developing a similar model for transfer students, but it would be a little bit different. But that is, we are in the process of looking at what a design for transfer students might look like.
Okay, so that leads me to my question for Dr. Pryor. How many of your students come in their junior year? I mean, I know at Auburn, we get so many that come in from the community college.
We don't know.
Come in.
That'll be something that we will figure out, just because with this being from we really honestly have no idea. So that's why the ones that have been admitted right now are coming in as freshmen. So they have opportunity to take a few classes within our endorsement, but then the bulk of it will come in junior and senior year. And again, we have so many that have early college as well. So they may start the program junior year. And honestly, that's one thing that we're going to just try to figure out and kind of just see how it goes, because you're not sure. So I don't know.
Well, one thing I can say, most of our programs, especially like our early childhood program, when the faculty were designing it, we looked very closely at transferability. So what courses that students take at a community college would transfer, because we can only accept up to like 60 hours. And so a lot of times we get students who come and they've taken 68 and only 40 will count. So it puts them behind in terms of transferability. So I'm sure you experience that in your position, but there are courses that are in the first 2 years of our health and PE program that can be taken just about anywhere. I think there's a few that are so specialized they would have to take in addition to, but mostly we try to design our program so that we can have a 2+2 arrangement.
Thanks.
Welcome. Other questions? Oh, I do, while y'all are thinking of questions, I do want to add about METP. Of course, we missed last year our DC and study abroad, and this year we've missed the DC and study abroad opportunities for our students because of COVID. Any other questions or comments? If not,
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Kelly.
Okay. I noticed you said that the students are assigned to public school for the 5-year tenure of their commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Does those schools have to have a certain level? For example, level 1 school or level 5 school, or do you all distinguish in that category?
That is an excellent question. And the answer to that is they do not have to have any distinction. And actually, once our students graduate the program, they can find, they search for positions, just like our other students do. And they can be anywhere in the state as long as it is a public school. So they can locate, if they're from Mississippi and they want to be in a certain area, or if they're not from Mississippi and they're intrigued by a certain area, they can locate in those areas.
Thank you.
We do have several students, though, who are serving in high needs areas. And of course, we're thrilled with that they have that kind of commitment.
Thank you for that answer. And I'm excited
Yes,
about
ma'am.
your program.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Any other questions? Well, on behalf of Drs. Pryor and Keskin, Sunny, I just thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to come and talk about 3 of our programs that we are just so very proud of. And we would be happy to take questions or for anybody who has ideas or thoughts to please share those with us. We are always looking and reflecting on what it is we're doing and how we can do it better so that we're serving our communities and schools more effectively. So thank you for your interest, and thank you, Sunny, again for giving us this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. McClelland. This has been just so enlightening, and I think we have all benefited from this. And I think our students here on campus, as well as our high school students, are lucky to be able to be at the School of Education at Ole Miss. There's so many opportunities, and we're really changing the map in the classroom, especially from what Dr. Pryor and Dr. Keskin talked about as well. So big things coming out of the School of Ed. We appreciate everybody coming today and joining us. We will upload this to YouTube. So if you have a friend that missed it, it will be available on our website. But again, if you have any extra questions, I see Dr. Keskin dropping his email in the chat and things like that. So without further ado, I will let y'all go and enjoy the rest of your day and your week. But thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.